All right, Mark, it is great to meet you in person, sort of, kind of.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks for doing the interview.
No, I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's always a busy time, so taking the time to participate in our leadership series. I know you'll add a lot of value. Not to put too much pressure on you. I know you'll add a lot of value and input and knowledge to our business audience. So let's get started. If you could just tell everybody who you are, what you do, a little bit of background, would be great.
Sure. Well, Mark O'Connell. I'm the president and CEO of a Chicago-based software company focused on sales enablement, sales productivity.
And your background a little bit is you've been very entrepreneurial, right?
Oh, sure. So I spent this is my third CEO role. Each one of those have been stepping in after a founder has built the company to a certain level. I've come in now. This is my third opportunity. First one we took public and then sold it. The second one we sold it, and this one we have aspirations to take this one public, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of years.
So you're the
So,
perfect person to ask this question that usually can be a very long answer, but we'll get the abbreviated version. What is your perspective then of what leadership is?
well, for me, leadership is all about inspiring others. In the case of an entrepreneur company, to do something more often than not, no one else has ever done before. And so, whether they haven't had the courage to do it or the imagination to do it, trying to find a team of people to lead and inspire them to do something that no one else has done and these people have not done before is really, for me, a lot of fun and the core definition of what a leader really has to do.
That's one of the better ones we've ever had, actually.
Ah,
Succinct, good. So your background, as you said, you started a large corporate. You had a large corporate, then you moved to entrepreneurial, technology, supply chain, software products, people. Um, Now you're leading a company, as we've talked, that supports sales growth, which is key of companies. Um, why Savo, and how did it come about?
well, Sabo is a Chicago-based company that was founded by a couple of college roommates that they had an early idea that if you look at a company's P&L statement, what's the largest line item of spending on there? It's sales. And then when you look at where the excitement and devastation happens in the Wall Street Journal, it's on whether people are making their numbers or not. And the
Right.
single largest line item there and a lever of influence is really how do you get more productivity out of your salespeople? And so Savo is a company that's totally dedicated on helping your individual salespeople be much more productive, um, much more engaging with your clients, much more inspiring, and so that they have a better performance, they retire more quota, and as that rolls up and you get more of your best practices across the organization, even the CEO gets happy.
Even a CEO,
Even the
right?
CEO.
Well, a lot of entrepreneurs, talk to me about the difference between leading and managing and culture. And I remember Peter Drucker had a great line. He said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." I used to love that line. How does an entrepreneur, which you are, create a winning culture? And on top of that, there's different stages of a growth of a company. How do you lead through the different stages of a fast-growing company?
Well, I think, from my experience, no matter how smart I thought our ideas were, or how smart, I thought the technology was, every stage of the companies that I've managed, we've been able to kind of get to the next stage because of the great people we've had, and to build a company that really gets people to do more than maybe they thought they would be able to do at this stage of their career or their experience.
Hmm.
And for me, the key has always been to find people who will maybe give more of their heart to the company. That may sound a little bit, maybe a little bit corny, but
No.
people who buy into the vision of what you're trying to do. They get up in the morning passionate about the mission that you're on. They love interacting with your customers and trying to inspire customers to do more and to be able to, I'll say, achieve different kinds of business results because of the things that your company can do for that client. And when you find employees that kind of put their heart into that and they wrap themselves around, they can go through walls. They can see around corners. They can accomplish things that maybe a year ago we would never have thought was possible. And finding those folks and building teams around them and helping them become greater leaders for me is the juice that keeps me going, but also is the centerpiece of really building I think a great company at every stage of a company. From when I worked at a very large company, I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation for a number of years, and I saw the difference makers in that company were those people that did that. And when I took my first CEO position, it was finding those kinds of individuals, those characters, those people that would put more of themselves into the company, and then you can build things around them. And I think that's always made the difference for me.
It's interesting you said, it's the heart, and maybe that sounds a little bit corny. I'll tell you why it's not corny. I'll give you a current example. I saw an interview recently with, I think it's McDonald, the former CEO or chairman of Procter & Gamble, who's changing the whole VA.
Yeah.
And he has everybody wearing little pins that say, I care.
Yeah.
And I stands for integrity, and care stands for the rest of it. And some people might say, how is he going to turn around the VA doing an I care?
Yeah.
But he's got the consistent values, the mission, the whole bit set.
Yeah, he's putting that idea out in front of everybody and changing the culture of that institution, and he'll accomplish that because people want to rally around something like that. And those people who are working, for the VA, those people are caregivers. Those are people that really care about other human beings. They want to do the right thing. With a little bit of leadership, it's amazing what kind of inspiration they can create. And I'm a big fan. I think he's going to do remarkable things there.
Yes, so do I. And before we got on the interview, you talked about pride. He mentions that too, and he mentions, and I've talked about this a lot with other clients too. You don't hear that as often as you used to when we were kids, even with parents. I'm proud of working at so and so and so and so, and especially what you just said about their caregivers. If anybody should be proud of what they're doing.
Absolutely. I would tell you that for as long as I can remember, one of the things I always close out every company communication meeting with is that you have a lot to be proud in your company, and it's a great day for our company. And to remind people that even that the highs are highs and the lows are lows when you're building a startup. Believe me, highs are highs, lows are lows. But and you celebrate all the successes. But the one thing you got to do is you've got to just stop and really remember the honorable work that you're doing, and really take pride in the change you're bringing to your customers. And when you connect those dots, it can be the inspiration that carries you through some of the hard points.
I actually think it not can be. I think it actually is. To be honest, and no, I think that's fantastic. I think we need more of it. It's the heart and soul of and the foundation of a winning team. Let's talking about culture. Let's talk about boards a little bit. Boards of directors, and they're obviously valued leaders. If they're on the board, they should be. We talk a lot about in our business the right fit, whether it's a position or on a board. How do you describe what the right fit is if you're looking to be on a board yourself, or the board of directors, if you will, of anybody's company?
Well, I've had I put 3 boards together, and I've really been proud of the teams that they end up becoming a team, all senior individual leaders in their own right, all accomplished. But trying to find either it's an individual or what's the right dynamic is always a challenge. You have private companies have a different collection of investors that have different needs and wants and priorities, and then you have operating people that have written a lot of rich experience, and trying to find the right dynamics and the right chemistry for me is a challenge. I think more often than not it's you're looking as someone who's building a board. I want, first of all, someone that just doesn't want a seat on the board because they want to build out their resume, that they really are taking the time to understand not only my company and where we are at this stage and where we need to get to for the next couple of years, but also to understand me. I think boards have an important responsibility to help CEOs get their job done and to really honestly understand the skills, the strengths, the weaknesses, the biases of the CEO, and and make a conscious decision that this is a right fit for a director and that you really can help. And I would define help as more than reading the board book before you show up to the board meeting and actively participating in the banter and weighing in and voting and making sure you're in your seat, that you really care about the company, you care about the mission and the customers, and that you are willing to put the time in to understand, how do you match your own personal experience, your network, the value you can bring, and you lean into it and you help to a point. And that's the other part of being a good director, right? I think there's always a fine line between a good director and someone that's a good director that thinks they're an operating person and they want to step in and start saying this is the way it should be done. And it's a fine line. And I think if people come to work thinking about the role of the CEO and what that leader is trying to do, and coming with your expertise to try to help that CEO be better, and to do it in a calm, professional, caring way, I think you find those slots. Those are the ones that you can have a lot of fun as a board member on.
It's interesting because we do see that a lot of those scenarios all the time. We see consciously or not consciously initially, Joe or Jane, former CEO, gets in as a board member, and then all of a sudden thinks, man, I can do this better than the CEO.
Well, it's always easier when you're on the other side of the table. Right? And I think that's one of the hardest parts is, there is the day-to-day life of what's happening inside the company. It's very hard to reflect that in a board meeting, in board dialogue, and so understanding, where the company is really trying to get to over the next couple of years, and stay focused on the future and not so much on today's day-to-day operation. My view is where you can help CEOs the best, because all CEOs, even though we spend our time looking at strategy and trying to drive the business forward, we can't help but get caught up in today's big customer challenges, the big challenges around products and technology and people, and that a perspective is something that you look for your directors to help you, remind you of. Said, Mark, remember, slow down a little bit here. Maybe you want to think about this, or I have a contact that I'd love for you to meet, or I have an experience I'd like to share with you, or even some hard challenges of I don't think you're thinking about this thing right. I want board members that are going to be that way, and I want to be on boards where the management team and the leaders are expecting that that's what I'm going to come in with, because I have that kind of experience, and I think that's why you would want. That's why you build a board. If you're really, I think, trying to build a great company, you got to start with building a great board and have people that really are going to challenge you and inspire you to be better and be a more effective leader, and maybe even a better business person.
Yeah, I think it's a comment we get from a lot of CEOs. They'd say, I wish my board would tell me what's going to happen, or give me some knowledge of 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road, but it starts, like we also talked previously about trusted relationships. If you have trusted relationships within your company, including with your board, then you can talk directly to each other, not take it personally, and get things done. If you can create that relationship, then it's all ahead, all forward.
Absolutely. I think it does start with the CEO. I think it does start with the CEO being willing to listen, and being really honest that maybe they don't have all the answers. I come to work every day knowing that I don't have all the answers, and I'm open to the help and suggestions, and I'm willing to, and I think taking that kind of an approach creates an opportunity for a director to say something, to engage with you. And when they don't, I reach out to them and said, you're awful quiet. I sure would love to hear what you're thinking. And I'll typically hear, what they have in their head and what's troubling them, and or even soliciting some really positive feedback about where the company is. That doesn't hurt either, hearing some of that from board members.
Absolutely. A little switch of topics here, but it's very easy to see that the impact of social media has been huge on business and on actions that leaders take or don't take. I give the example probably too many times now. I've had executives tell me, we used to be able to have a meeting in my office. I bring everybody in, heart to heart, this and that. We get things done and go. Now the guy tells me, and now I have a meeting, and before the meeting's over, it's on Twitter. He tells me. Yeah. How do you find it's impacting business in general?
Well, I think today that the majority of leads and the way that the majority of people are learning about your business, your products, and getting opinions is by this incredible flurry of information on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It is not going to change. It's going to continue to accelerate. And
Right.
the way that you get your ideas across today is by blogging, is by taking advantage of that. And a lot of people are afraid of it, and they're afraid of it because of the information that's going to get leaked out. And I think what has to happen today is the companies need to grab onto it and really embrace it. And if there's something bad that's going to happen, probably hiding from social networking is not going to help you. It's probably just going to put a magnifying glass on it. I say get in the game and to really make sure that you are aggressively playing and get into the various networks, the channels, leverage the tools, and get good at it. And you'll learn a lot. The amount of information that can come flowing to you by getting follow 100 people on Twitter, you're going to get a flurry of information, opinions, and I think the best CEOs are the ones that are willing to learn and to learn at an incredibly fast pace. And I think these social networking tools, if anything, are going to give you lots of things to learn, and you use your good judgment on what you want to take action on. But I think it's changing business for the better. It's helping us move faster, and I'm obviously a big fan.
Well, for you help companies grow their sales. It's either something you take advantage of or
Absolutely.
fall
Absolutely.
behind, right?
Yeah, the way that you find people
Yeah.
is you look at the hundreds of millions of users on Facebook and the scale on LinkedIn and Twitter. There's a reason that those tools are very, very
Yeah.
popular. It's not because it's just a time sink and that people want to share pictures. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of information about what's happening in the marketplace today. What are people's biases to buy? What are the problems they're trying to solve? How are they thinking about these things? And I think it's important to get in the game and to help shape opinions if you really believe in what you're doing. And the social channels are the ones that people are listening to more than any other channel today.
So let's give some advice to some of the, I'm tired of saying this, young people these days, the young up-and-coming leaders of the world, which are even in their 20s and 30s. And, what type of advice, you had mentioned at one point we were talking, the insatiable need and desire for knowledge. How would you advise an up-and-coming leader on how to prepare for their future these days?
I think the orientation that I try to encourage, whether it's my kids who are all in their late 20s to mid 30s, or employees in the company, said, one, stay focused on goals, stay focused on results, and the idea of a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan is probably not something that I'm a big fan of. I think that I try to encourage people to learn as much as you can and move. That don't be afraid to move. Meaning, I'm doing this job. I'm focused on these results, and I'm learning as fast as I can. But I'm really learning to deliver a result. And then I want an opportunity to go try something different. And whether it's a different job or a different company, I encourage people to do that. Encourage my kids to do that. Learn at a fast pace. Get exposed to as many different people as you can. Create as many experiences as you can, both in terms of the companies you work for and also being a good corporate citizen in the community. Get involved in your community. Kind of give back. It's not typically a problem for I'll say the millennial community. They want to spend time both in the office and outside giving back. But I think learning, don't be afraid to move, meet more fascinating people. And I also think it's okay for people to reach up to people who've been around for a while, maybe some more senior people, and spend time with them. Get involved in a project they're working on. Ask people to mentor you, and to kind of get their life and work experience and learn as much as you possibly can. And I think by coming in thinking you have none of the answers, and you're gonna work awful hard to create more opportunities for yourself because you're delivering results, you get exposed to a lot of these different things, and before you know it, you will
Right.
have lots of new responsibility, and you'll see your career blossoming. And I've seen it happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times when people take that approach.
Not to mention a
Absolutely,
whole bunch of
which
relationships.
as we know, is the centerpiece for a lot of success over the life of your career. Sure is.
Yeah, it's
Sure
still
is.
about people, right? Um,
Yeah,
so speaking of people, let's get a little personal. We'll get
we
too
do.
personal. We'll
We
get a little
have
personal. Do you have a pet?
we have a boxer, a beautiful boxer, and we have two cats.
Okay, awesome. Because we have this thing that's originated from another video where we're doing pets and their executives. So you're gonna have to send
I
us a
will
picture of
definitely
you and
do
your
that.
pets, all
Logan
right?
is the name of Logan. I would
I'm
love
not
to
kidding. We
participate.
do.
Logan is our boxer. He's a beautiful animal, I just love spending time with him.
Well, it started out as executives and their pets, but a couple of people told me to change it to pets and their executives,
Yeah,
and
I
we're
guess
going with that.
if you
Yeah.
saw me with
Uh,
our pets, you'd say we know who's in charge here.
So, do you have a
I
favorite
would say
activity or sport?
I'm actually a jack of all sports and a master of none. So I'm at average at everything. I golf, I scuba dive, I snowmobile, I ski. I do a lot of that stuff. I ride motorcycle. I do a lot of different kinds of sports. None of them very well, and none of them very often. But part of my thing is learning something new, and something my kids are always teasing me about. What's your new hobby this week? And for me, it's trying to learn something new. And stay in the game, and keep energized and stimulated with something new. But sports have always been a big piece of my life. And playing bad
Yeah,
sports like bad golf, I'm actually pretty good at that.
yeah. I heard. Yes. How about movies or TV shows? Do you have a favorite of
In
that?
my job, I don't spend a lot of time watching TV. When I do, it's settling down on a weekend watching a hockey game. So obviously, being a Boston guy that lives in Chicago, got two great hockey teams that I follow. Um, NFL football, we've
That's
from I'm from Boston, and we've been spoiled with the last decade of incredible sports teams, from World Series champions to NBA champions to NHL champions. We've been very, very, very fortunate, and my kids think this is the way it's supposed to be. You live in a community where your team wins 3 out of 4 years. I
well. That's what we thought in
Well,
Montreal growing up with the Canadians.
that's true. And
So,
by the way, it'll probably turn back that way. A great game.
well, we'll see. It's very hard to win multiples these days. But how about music? Do you have a favorite type of music?
I'm probably the same way. I listen to a lot of different things. I listen to
That's cool.
let's see, like Jason Mraz, and I'll say solo performers. I'll listen to
Hmm.
the Rat Pack and Frank Sinatra with friends on a Saturday night after a nice dinner and bottle of wine. Um, I'll listen to uh, I'll listen to
Good.
country music with my wife, or we're on our way to our lake house in New Hampshire. And probably just about everything, except for probably I'm not a big fan of rap music.
I knew you were going to say that. My 16-year-old won't
Neither do my
appreciate
kids,
that.
by
But
the way.
anyways, how about how about
Well,
food? Favorite type of food?
living here in Chicago, believe it or not, it's my fourth year here at Savo in Chicago, and so I'm a commuter from Boston. And I said, I'm going to make it through my first year here in Chicago without eating in the same restaurant twice. and I did that. It was absolutely phenomenal. When I'm with customers,
Yeah, I heard.
there's only one thing they serve here in Chicago, and it's steak. Because people want to come
Exactly.
in with that.
Gibson's, right?
But there are great Indian restaurants here, tremendous sushi restaurants, great Italian food, tapas places. I had a fabulous dinner last night with a couple of our investors at a great new seafood restaurant that just opened up. So I'm still up to my old tricks of trying to see as many different restaurants as I possibly can. And it is hard to fall in love with one place here in the city. It is phenomenal, phenomenal. You
Yeah,
get
it's
really
tremendous.
spoiled.
I
You
know.
really do.
Well, when you're done with all the entrepreneurial, it sounds like the Chamber of Commerce for Chicago would be a good place for you to
Well, I
go
could write a few
to.
guidebooks. That is for sure.
Well, listen, we really appreciate the time to do this leadership series with us. You're a really interesting
Well, thank you very much.
young
I
man,
appreciate that.
and we
Hey,
look
Mark,
forward
thanks
to
an
speaking
awful
to you
lot.
again
Really appreciate
soon.
it. Take care.